You're standing in line. Your phone is dead. 30 seconds pass. Your hand still reaches for your pocket anyway. That twitch, that tiny reflex to reach for something, anything, is one of the most revealing things about you. It looks like nothing, but the real answer is far stranger. That twitch is a survival system, millions of years old, screaming at you to pay attention to something it thinks might kill you. You call it boredom. Your brain calls it an alarm. Think about the last time you felt truly, unbearably bored. Maybe it was a waiting room. Maybe it was a lecture. Maybe it was a Sunday afternoon with nothing scheduled and nowhere to be. What did you feel in your body? A kind of pressure, a restlessness, an itch behind your eyes that had nowhere to go. You probably assumed that feeling meant something was wrong with the moment. It wasn't. It meant something was wrong with your attention. Here's the decoded version. Boredom is not the absence of stimulation. It's the presence of a very specific kind of discomfort. The feeling of wanting to engage with something meaningful and not being able to find it. Psychologist John Eastwood, who has spent much of his career studying this exact feeling, describes boredom as the unpleasant experience of wanting to be engaged in a satisfying activity, but being unable to do so. Not empty time. A mismatch. Your mind is idling in gear, engine running, wheels spinning, and nothing underneath is moving. Why would evolution build that into you? Why would millions of years of survival pressure carve out a specific, uncomfortable feeling whose entire job is to make you miserable when nothing is happening? Because for most of human history, nothing happening was dangerous. Picture your ancestors on the savannah, 40,000 years ago. A predator doesn't announce itself. It waits in stillness. Silence isn't safety out there. Silence is often the last thing you hear before something goes wrong. A brain that got comfortable in stillness, that stopped scanning, stopped noticing, stopped caring about the absence of activity, was a brain that got eaten. So evolution did something clever. It made stillness itself feel bad. It attached a low hum of discomfort to unstructured, unstimulating time, just uncomfortable enough to make you get up, look around, move, forage, check the tree line, find the next useful thing to do. Boredom wasn't punishment, it was a nudge, a biological tap on the shoulder that said, "Don't just sit there." That tap on the shoulder still exists in you today. It just has almost nothing left to nudge you toward. You don't need to scan a tree line anymore. You don't need to forage. The ancient alarm still fires, but the modern world removed almost every reason for it to. So the alarm gets redirected. It gets absorbed by whatever is nearest and loudest. A notification, a feed, a video that autoplays before you've even decided to watch it. Not because those things are meaningful, because they're available, and your brain, still running 40,000-year-old software, will take available over meaningful almost every time. This is where the story gets uncomfortable, because it means boredom isn't a modern invention caused by phones. Phones didn't create the itch. They just became the fastest, cheapest way to scratch it, which raises a much stranger question. What happens to a species that engineers away almost every moment its oldest alarm system was built to interrupt? Researcher Sandy Mann ran a series of studies asking exactly what happens when people sit with boredom instead of escaping it. In one experiment, she had participants do something intentionally tedious, like copying numbers out of a phone book before giving them a creative task. The bored group outperformed the group that went straight into the task. Boredom, it turned out, wasn't wasted time. It was incubation time. When the mind has nothing external to grab onto, it doesn't go blank. It goes inward. It starts generating. Daydreaming isn't the opposite of thinking. It might be thinking's most productive mode. That's the twist most people never expect. The feeling you've spent your whole life trying to eliminate might be the exact condition your best ideas need in order to exist. But here's where it gets stranger still, because most people don't sit with boredom long enough to find that out. A well-known study led by Timothy Wilson asked participants to simply sit alone in a room with their thoughts for 6 to 15 minutes, no phone, no book, nothing. Many rated the experience as unpleasant. Then researchers gave those same participants the option to press a button that delivered a mild electric shock if they wanted something, anything, to do instead of just sitting there. A striking number of people chose the shock. Some of them had said earlier they'd pay money to avoid being shocked at all. Given nothing but their own minds, they chose pain over emptiness. Sit with that for a second. Given the choice between being alone with their own thoughts and causing themselves physical pain, a real number of people chose the pain. What does that tell you? It tells you the discomfort of boredom isn't mild. It's not a minor inconvenience you politely tolerate until your phone buzzes. For some people, it's closer to an emergency, loud enough to make a small jolt of pain feel like relief by comparison. That's not weakness. That's your ancient alarm system running at full volume with nowhere to send you. So what is boredom actually for, underneath all of this? Psychologist Aaron Westgate has proposed that boredom functions as a signal about meaning, not just stimulation. It's not simply telling you that nothing is happening. It's telling you that what's happening isn't mattering to you, isn't using your attention the way your attention wants to be used. Under this view, boredom isn't your enemy. It's closer to a compass. An uncomfortable, insistent compass, but a compass. It's the feeling of your mind saying, this isn't it. Find the thing that is. And this is the modern mirror moment, the part of the story that lands closest to home. You live in the first era of human existence where boredom is almost entirely optional. You can eliminate the feeling within 4 seconds, anytime, anywhere, with a single motion of your thumb. Which sounds like a solution. But if boredom is a signal, then constantly silencing the signal doesn't make the underlying question go away. It just means you never get to hear it. You never get the 6 minutes in the room with your own thoughts. You never get the copying numbers out of a phone book stretch of dead time that lets your mind wander somewhere useful. You get the shock button, over and over, dressed up as entertainment. None of this means boredom feels good. It doesn't. It was never supposed to. Discomfort was the entire mechanism, the same way hunger doesn't feel good and thirst doesn't feel good. Those feelings aren't flaws either. They're your body doing exactly what it evolved to do, making stillness costly enough that you act. Boredom is hunger for meaning instead of food. And like hunger, the answer was never to make the feeling disappear forever. It was to let it point you somewhere. So the next time you feel that restless itch, that 30-second twitch toward your pocket, pause before you reach. Ask what the feeling is actually asking for. Not distraction, direction. You're standing in line again. Your phone is dead again. 30 seconds pass. This time, your hand doesn't move. And for the first time in a long time, you let the alarm ring all the way through, just to see where it's actually trying to send you.